Thank you. Mrs. Fayette?
Perhaps community comments during school board meetings could be made earlier as opposed to toward the end of the meeting, for one thing. In addition, perhaps, given the way our community is changing with the, our community is becoming more diverse, perhaps the board could be reaching out to and maybe host a community diverse event that more minorities that are moving into our community could become involved and consider becoming candidates.
Thank you. Mrs. Finkelstein?
Yes, I think that the board should become more transparent and fiscally accountable to the community, the taxpayers who elected them, and they need to listen to all stakeholders at every level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Third question will go to Mrs. Beatty. How can we be assured that if you disagree with, felt differently about, or weren't sure about an issue you were asked to vote on as a school board member, you would speak out and express your opinions or ask questions, even if they were unpopular ones?
I've worked with very strong personalities in the past. I've worked at Nickelodeon, at MTV, and with movie studios. I've worked with strong personalities and big egos. When my opinions did not agree with theirs, you respectfully listen, you persuasively speak back, you empathize with the other person's perspective, but then you try to interact with or interject your perception of what to be the right decision.
Thank you, Ms. Beatty. Mrs. Fayette?
I was the first person during the last forum to recognize that not only was I not endorsed by the union, but now I'm going to come right out and say I'm proud that I'm not being endorsed by the MEA, who's come out and said that they're not here for the students, that they want to, they want to recall people that you elected, and that they're interested in political action.
Thank you, Ms. Fayette.
Sure.
Finkelstein?
Yes, thank you. It's a very good question. I don't look at a seat on the board as being a part of a popularity contest. You were put there by the voters. We answer to the voters. I would ask questions of the voters and all the stakeholders, and I pledge that if I am elected, that will be the way I do business. And if I don't vote and we don't have 7-0 votes, I'm sorry, I'm going to vote in the best interest of the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hirsch?
We have 7 board members, not 1. It's a chemistry of 7. We should listen, discuss, come to a consensus, and then you work as a team. I took School Board 101 and 102. It's a real class, and it teaches you how to function as a team once you come to a consensus, and that needs to be done.
Thank you, Dr. Hirsch. Ms. Moe?
We're not going to always agree on the board, and that's a good thing. Everybody's thoughts and reasons need to be addressed and listened to. If I do not understand what's going on, I will ask until I understand. That is my job as a school board, and that is my job to represent all the stakeholders. We have to find out before we can make any decisions, and I will do that.
Thank you, Ms. Moe. Mr. Reed?
Yes, I've come to the point in my life where I feel I have a core set of strong principles and values that guide me. I know who I am, and I believe in myself, and because I have those thoughts, I'm going to be able to stand up to anybody and be myself. And I have to do that because I'm working for the kids. So thank you.
Thank you. We will now be moving on to the first audience question. Mrs. Finkelstein, what will you guys do to limit class sizes and also bring back more electives that were taken off because of the budgets?
Limiting class sizes, of course, is going to be a function of the budget, so I think we need to do everything we can when we look at the budget to make sure that we impact the class size the least and put our dollars into those classrooms. There are other places that we can probably cut corners, but the classroom is just not one of them. And class size is critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hirsch?
I personally want to limit class size and make it as small as possible. It's been indoctrinated in me from when I was a little kid because my mother was a teacher for 31 years. I believe in a small class size. What was the second part of the question?
What would you do to bring back more electives that were taken off because of the budgets?
The only way to bring back more electives is to gain revenue and keep our revenue from Lansing. We have to communicate with Lansing.
Thank you. Ms. Moye?
Yeah, I would love to have a much smaller class size. At this time, we have the block scheduling. I don't know if maybe we can be a little bit more creative, restructure the block scheduling to where we can maybe have smaller classrooms. That's something we can look at as stakeholders, as teachers and students. We have to get creative and think out of the box. But again, we also will have to stay in Lansing, and that's where we're going to make our change.
Thank you. Mr. Reed?
Yes, I've talked to a lot of students and teachers and parents. Class sizes are way too large. There's 35 to 36 kids in each class. If you were willing to consider moving from the block schedule to a traditional semester schedule, which most, if not all, school districts in the area have, I could increase the number of classes offered, which would allow more time, more teachers, and more electives. It would also lower class sizes significantly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Beatty?
Yes, hi. I teach at OCC myself. I have 2 classes right now. One has 37 students in it and one has 27. There is a significant difference between my ability to engage on a one-on-one basis with the students in my 27 classroom as opposed to my 37. It's imperative that we keep class size down. There is a significant difference with the way the teacher can interact with those students. And as far as getting back to the electives, that, again, has to do with us going to Lansing and retaining that money that we need for our school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Fayette?
The conversation seems to be here tonight that the answer is Lansing, government, government, government. The answer isn't always the government. The answer can actually be the private sector. And we can actually go to the private sector and get money from the private sector like I was talking about. These partnerships that we could enter into. Go to these foreign companies, enter into these, for these languages and things like that. We can enter into partnerships. We can do things with the private sector in order to get educational experiences that benefit our students. We can try that. Lansing is not always the answer.
Thank you. The second audience question. Dr. Hirsch, what do you think are the 3 biggest problems concerning our district besides financial? How would you address it?
3 biggest problems. One problem is we need more electives. Second problem, we need to start teaching a foreign language in an earlier grade. And third, we need to concentrate on our core subjects, making sure our kids can perform for the ACTs so they can prepare for the future.
Thank you. Ms. Moye?
Repeat the question one more time for me.
What do you think are the 3 biggest problems concerning our district besides financial, and how would you address it?
One, I would like to see more time for our students taking the ACT and the SATs. Maybe we can have more practice time for the tests on a Saturdays, maybe after school, but to help prepare them so they can do very well on the test. That's one. 2, I would like to also help work on class management in some of our classrooms so our students can have a area to where they can learn and things are managed well. And 3, that's a good one. Again, I have to go to the students. I want to know what you want. So I'll hold off on that one.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Reed?
Yeah, the 3 biggest problems are communication with all of the stakeholders, making sure that everybody feels like they're involved, adding more electives to the course schedule because kids are interested in a lot of things and we need to add more. And of course, probably the number 1 problem that I'm hearing is class size. So those are the 3 that I would be focused on.
Thank you. Mrs. Beatty?
Yes, I believe we need to teach a foreign language in the elementary. I believe that we do need more assistance to our high school students as they prepare for the college. And I do believe that there is issue with class management. And I think that the teachers need guidelines in the classroom, that they have support from the administrators, that those guidelines will be upheld, and that if they are not, that there are written out consequences.